What's up, everybody? We're back here today with another video. Andy's out of town this weekend, so you're just stuck with me. Andy and I have now been hammocking for over a year and a half, and we've just kind of come out of that intro newbie phase, and we were just thinking, you know, what were some of the tips that we've learned going from someone who never hammocked before to now we've both done at least 20 or 30 nights in hammocks, backpacking nights easily. So today's video is 5 tips for new hammockers. These are going to be tips and tricks and things that we kind of learned along the way that are very applicable to people who just started hammocking. So if you just started hammocking, pay attention to these couple things. So tip numero uno, educate yourself. You really need to educate yourself on all the different types of hammocks, all the different types of hammock suspensions, all the different types of tarps. Hammocking is like 50 times more complex than sleeping on the ground in a tent. And that's just because there's so many more options, it's so customizable, and there's a lot of stuff you can do. So we recommend 2 resources. One, of course, is hammock forums. Check them out. It's a wealth of knowledge there. They've got threads and topics on everything related to hammocks. Check that out. As far as YouTube, check out all of Shug Emery's videos. He's got so many about hammock suspensions, booby slings, tarps, everything, you name it. So those are 2 good resources, but you definitely need to do your homework and educate yourself on everything hammocks. Tip number 2, experiment and find a setup that works for you. I have never seen 2 people with the exact same hammock setups. I've never known of it happening. There's so many options. Even Andy and I, who we do all of our backpacking together for the most part and all of our hammocking together, we don't have the same setups. Some people are comfortable in certain hammocks while other people are comfortable in other hammocks. You really need to experiment and find what works for you. A really good thing if you live in an area that does this is go to a hammock forums group meetup or group hang, and there'll be tons of different kinds of equipment there, and you can try out what you like, what you don't like. But because hammocks are so in-depth and intricate, you need to find and experiment with the setup that works for you personally, because not every setup works for everybody, and you're gonna find little things you prefer. Maybe you like a different kind of suspension, or maybe you like a different kind of quilt setup, but you need to experiment and tinker and find what works for you. Number 3, make a quality investment in your hammock setup. Hammocks are expensive. The good ones are. There's no doubt about it. It's because they're made by people in their basements. They're made in America. They're high quality, high customer service. They're expensive. A good hammock setup, just the hammock alone, is going to be like $150 to $200. Make a quality investment. Everyone I have ever known that has had problems hammock camping has done it because they bought some sort of budget thing that was pretty cheap and it didn't work for them. Now, you can go on Amazon, you can find hammocks for really cheap, and I've never used those hammocks myself, so I can't attest to those, but make a quality investment. Check out the top hammock companies. They're generally Warbonnet, Dutchware, Dream Hammock, maybe Wilderness Logics. There's a couple other ones. They're all cottage vendors. But do your research, make a quality investment. These hammocks will last you forever, and the last thing you want when you're backpacking is to have that thing tear, or the continuous loops rip off on the end, or your suspensions fail, because then you could actually seriously hurt yourself. So make a quality investment and do your research. Tip number 4, once you have done your research and you've invested in that quality setup, practice, practice, and practice. I cannot stress that enough. Practice in your house, in your backyard. Certainly practice with it before you take it backpacking. Practice hanging on trees of different widths. Practice hanging on trees that are differently spaced apart. Practice every different scenario. Practice how much higher do you like your foot end? Maybe you don't like your foot end higher at all. Practice with the tension on your ridge line. Practice setting up your tarp. Hammocks are so much more complex than tents, it's not even funny. And to just go out there and throw it up your first time it's not going to be perfect. You need to practice. So the first time I got a hammock, I strung it up here in the gear loft. I laid in it. I played with the suspension angles. I played with the tightness of the ridge line. Then you got to practice with your underquilts, adjusting your underquilts, getting your top quilts right. Then you got to practice with your tarp, getting your tarp tied up right. Maybe do you like porch mode? Do you like storm mode? You got to practice, 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 and don't practice the first time when you go backpacking. I made that mistake. Get everything ironed out either in your backyard or at a local woods, or maybe just go on a car camping overnight. But practice with your setup before you go out backpacking and really get a feel for it. Tip number 5, our final tip, and this is something that I personally had to learn. You gotta be patient. Sleeping in a hammock takes time, and no one ever told me that when I first started hammocking, but you're not going to sleep well the first night in your hammock. There are physiological adaptations that occur, especially if you're not using tie outs and you're swaying. You're in a totally different environment, you're in a totally different position. Please be patient. It will take at least 4, 5, 6 nights in a hammock until you really are comfortable. The first night I was in a hammock, I wasn't comfortable. Everyone I've known that slept in a hammock their first few nights were not comfortable. So a little sub tip for number 5, the first couple nights you do sleep in a hammock, take some sort of sleep aid. NyQuil, Benadryl, maybe your favorite alcoholic beverage. Take some sort of sleep aid, it will help. A good comparison would be to say like a memory foam mattress. So my wife and I got a memory foam mattress, and it took several nights to adjust to it, to our leg muscles to adjust to it. And that's why they say when you get one of those mattresses, you have to sleep on it for 30 days before you can return it, because there is an adjustment period. So be patient. Hammock camping is more comfortable than tent camping, but it's going to take time for your body to adjust to sleeping that way. It just will. So be patient with it. Another example is I am a dedicated side sleeper in a bed. Literally for 30 years of my life, every single night, I've only slept on my side. I sleep on my back now in a hammock, and I started out sleeping on my side in a hammock, but the back was just more comfortable to me. So I had to be patient and wait for that adjustment to occur, but just be patient. It takes time to adjust to sleeping in one, trust me. So that's it, everybody. Those are our 5 tips for people who are just getting into hammocking. So educate yourself, tinker and find a setup that works for you, make a quality investment, practice, practice, and practice with that setup and investment when you do find it, and be patient, because it does take time. Thanks for watching. Please let us know your tips for new hammockers. I'm sure people who come to watch this video, people who are new into hammocking, would really like to know what you guys all think. What were your tips when you started hammocking? So yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you want to. Check us out on Instagram if you want to. We'll catch you guys in the next one.